squaddies. Time to hero up.
Yep, it is Saturday, so it's time for us to say those words before we can get things started here. So without further ado, let's get it rolling.
All right, you want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
Yes, it is showtime, and welcome to another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee here, and we got some updates and some things to talk about here. But before we get into the nitty gritty, let's go ahead and do our norm here, which is telling you about Stupid O'Clock, which happens 1 hour into this show here. That is followed up by Last Man Standing at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then you get a respite until, never mind the furthermore, with Nicholas Tucker at 10 a.m. on Monday. And don't forget, and never forget, that we got Comic Book Spectrum right here on this YouTube channel on Thursday, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern here. And without further ado, I do know that this is probably a lot of the people's favorites out there. We do got comic book pickups for the week here. And here we go. All little bunch here. Not really big, but it will get us through this segment of the show here. First on the docket, we got another unopened polybag copy of Static #1 from the collector's edition here. I believe everything is still up in here and everything. We got unopened polybag copy of X-Force #1, and yes, this one actually has the Deadpool card. And we got another complete run of Dakota North, so that means I finally got my required 2 full complete sets of the Dakota North, so I probably will not be looking for this anymore unless I'm able to complete a 3rd set, which is pretty much, I think, for a 3rd set it would be what, 2 or 3 issues for me to complete a 3rd set of this. Then we got a Doom #1 Doom 2099 #1. Another Wildcats #1, and I believe this is volume 2 of the Green Hornet. This is volume 2 of Green Hornet #1, and we got Fantastic Four 351. And that is all the pickups for the week here. We're going to bring you back to the regular studio here right about now before we can continue on talking about our weekly topic here. I'll catch you next week on. And there you have it. That was the comic book pickups for the week here. Yeah, it was a very short stack of books here. I hope that, I know a lot of people are pretty much, they tune in to see what books would come in over the week and everything. And, you know, this week was kind of like a short week. Well, I shouldn't say a short week, but not a big week for books here. Things are slowly coming to fruition as far as the master collection is concerned here. I'm getting closer and closer to having everything cataloged that's in storage. Had a decent day there today. and I say a decent day because I got all of the new Avengers kind of arranged here, but I didn't realize I had all of these other side Avengers series, and I still got boxes to go through to sort out here. I mean, I still got Flash issues to sort out, some Teen Titans issues to sort out, a whole bunch of Justice League of America and Justice Society type stuff. Stuff that I forgot about that I actually had and was like literally collecting in like the 2000s. So it's going to get into CLZ where I can have a bigger picture, a better picture of what's there and everything, and everything else here. And it looks like we got people, and there's Parallax Spectre here. Yep, there's Beanie and Lils. Yep, Beanie, Lils, and Parallax all there. Hopefully, you guys got here to see comic book pickups for the week here. Like I said, it's just a short little pickups here, just odds and end type stuff. Like I said, another Doom 2099, another Wildcats #1. You know, another run of Dakota North. I still got the. I didn't take the static nor the. Hold on. Yeah, I didn't take the static nor the X Force 1 2 storage, both still in the poly bag. I didn't take that in because it's still up in the air as far as whether or not I'm going to get them graded and pressed and whatnot. I just have to figure out what's going on with storage and everything. However, tonight, like I stated before, it's like I have to do some accountability here. And like I said, I know that you guys like, well, this is supposed to be from the desk of a small press publisher. What have you been working on? Well, let's show you. This is page 27 and most of 28. I just realized as I was putting them together today that my panel 3 for page 28 was missing, so I have to re-render it. So this is page 27. This is getting into the beginnings of the Power Spike versus Ellen match here. So that's the actual beginning, and 28 is being worked on as we speak here. I have to re-render panel 3, so that's what's missing right up in here. And then we got the beginnings of that match and everything, and trying to choreograph combat gets a little bit weird in a bigger scheme of things here. But that's where we're at as far as that is concerned here. Also, I've been trying to get a lot more work done on the role playing game. I may just go ahead and break down and do what the co-creator or the person who created the engine said, and just put out a quick play for free, a free to play quick play book for people could just go ahead and play. And then that way, with the quick play book, you will get used to the rules and everything before we come out with the master book. And the master core book would have all the wrestlers and everything to that magnitude in it here. Outside of that, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to force myself to draw Amazonia 8 sometime probably in November. So that means that the table back here is about to get cleared off of all of the different odds and end books here, and it's just going to be nothing more than a drawing table for 28 pages of Amazonia. So that I'm kind of sort of looking for, but I want to get this issue of Primetime Saturday Night done for issue 5. So like I said, we're over the halfway mark on that. Like I told everybody, the average issue size for Primetime Saturday Night is normally somewhere about 52 to 56 pages. So we've been trying to stay around that 50-page mark here. So that's been, make it worthwhile for people to buy the issue here. Because I know, with some of the other publishers, it's like it's getting to the point where you're barely getting 16 pages of comic now. I'd rather give you like 50 pages worth of story each issue and charge you like $5 for it, as opposed to charging you $5 for 16 pages. Big difference here. Yes, I could probably tell some of the matches a lot faster, but to me, it's more about the artistry and the combat and people actually seeing, the wrestling and everything to that magnitude and actually doing justice to each one of those bouts instead of telling it in 2 pages, kind of expand it out, tell someone tell someone the in-ring story behind it. Every match has its pretty much its own story, its own story arc and everything to that magnitude here. Also, as far as accountability, I also did my first YouTube short today, and that topic, well, actually, I'm going to do a short series doing YouTube shorts dealing with comic book collecting. I finally did the episode one is how do you start? And pretty much just buy one comic, start from there. It's simple. Buy one comic, buy something that you like or something that caught your interest, read it, and you start your comic book collection. But I'm going to try to keep it to 1 minute. These are going to be like 1 minute short episodes of the journey of comic book collecting and everything to that magnitude. How to make certain decisions, where to go to build your collection, how to do it on a budget, how to budget for comics and stuff to that magnitude. And we're not going to over. I could do it. Dedicate episodes here on the main show, but I figure it's like, what? In little bitty 1 minute doses, it probably is a little bit easier to the digestive system for people to learn that way. And if they want more information, they could always come to the show and just ask questions here. So hopefully, this will work out and we get more people coming to the channel and viewing the other videos that goes along with this here. Plus, I'm still learning the ins and outs of YouTube because if I could make shorts of these longer form videos, I think people will will come back and start watching some of the previous episodes and everything to that magnitude here. Yeah, exactly. Again, it's like these shorts are going to force me not to be long winded because we're going to keep it to a minute. And that's one of the things that YouTube shorts would do is like they keep you at that 60-second video. So it forces you to really choose your words correctly and succinctly and do it within 60 seconds. And I think it could be a great thing here. Win back Artie. Oh, you're thinking about him now? Yeah. But it is what it is here. Speaking of which, I still got a lot of stuff to pay as far as getting books and stuff in. So that's probably going to be my focus in for this month here. So it's like towards the middle of the month, there's going to be like a very big new comic book pickup sort of week, and it's probably going to be monster and probably take up most of the show here. But yeah, Artie's a good guy, but yeah, not trying to be a win back like him and everything to that magnitude. However, one of the things that I'm also thinking about too is not be as, if I could say, negative. I mean, we have nice discussions here and we have thoughtful discussions and we do look at things very constructively, but maybe and just maybe, and like I said, this is a maybe I could be a little bit better at not feeding into some of the negative aspects of comic book collecting, the industry as a whole, and stuff to that magnitude. Um, it's a lot of stuff that's out there that I sit back and I look at, and part of me wants to really kind of like take that step back and just say, you know what, let people think what they're going to think. Because I'm looking at how people are complaining about CGC and all these grading companies and the whole thing about slab versus raw and the whole thing about just getting books graded nowadays. It's just I just hate the whole aspect of people trying to make comic book collecting like a profitable venture. And to me, the way that it becomes profitable does not work in the same way that most businesses would work. You can do it if you become a seller or reseller, but as a general collector, you can't look at this as investment in stocks and expect to make money. Because why? Speculation doesn't work the way that they think in this particular hobby, the way that they believe, and it just baffles my mind about how some people are feeling the way that they're feeling about CGC, and if they're like, you're making all these complaints, but you're the one that's taking the risk. I'm tired of hearing people like, "Oh, I cracked this out. I resubmit, got it pressed and resubmitted, and I still got a grade bump. I got a break. Grade went down." I'm looking at them. It's like, read the fine print. When you first sent it in, and they gave you a 9.4, that 9.4 was there for a reason. Even if you did press and did don't fix those things that they mentioned, it does not guarantee that it was a 9.4 after you receive it back. That's what their fine print was saying. They guaranteed that it was a 9.4 when it leaves their hands. After it gets to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's still a 9.4. Just like a 9.8, and you send it into a signing that's an encapsulated 9.8, and you send it into a signing, does not mean that it's going to be a 9.8 when it comes back to you. Because the first time around you sent it in, it was a 9.8. Between all of the stuff about them cracking it out, getting it signed and everything, you don't know what's happening with that book. It's a risk. Accept the risk behind it. It's just so maddening that it's like, oh, I lost hundreds of dollars on this book because I sent it in as a 9.8. It was sent it in as a 9.8. I wanted the artist to sign it, and they signed it, and it comes back a 9.4. Well, you knew the risk. If you wanted a 9.8 coming in the door that from signed by the artist, guess what? Find a 9.8 raw, have them to sign that raw, and let them encapsulate it from the very beginning. Simple as that. Taking an existing 9.8 and cracking it out, you're taking that risk on that book. That's just the way that it is. I have seen 9.8 slash books that are in no way, shape, or form of the 9.8. Yeah, I won't pick on any particular company, but that was the whole thing about PGX. A PGX 9.8 is not a 9.8, but people forget about that. People forget about that. I mean, everybody wants to complain about CGC. It's like, did we forget our lesson about PGX back in the day? It's like a PGX 9.8 was almost like an 8.5 at CGC at one time, but it's like, my whole point of what I'm bringing this up for is like, we need to take responsibility for a lot of things that's going on in the community. It is not the creator's fault. It's not anybody else's fault. You took the risk. You took a gamble. Accept the loss. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you lose. Yep, they did. And also, when the artist signed it, it might have damage to the book too. Yep, exactly. You have to accept the risk. I'm not saying don't risk it, because that's your book. I don't say that. But if you crack open a 9.8 and it comes back a 9.4 or 9.2, that's the risk that you took. No particular system is perfect. And this is one of the reasons why I stand by what I said about CPR. With CPR up here, it's like, you know what? You're taking that risk. You're spending extra money on a book that 9 times 10 you shouldn't have. Just because something was graded a 9.4 and he's like, well, I could go ahead and get somebody else to press and to get those defects out, means that when you get it back to them, to that grader, that they're going to still see that they still going to see it as a better book. You're taking a gamble. You're taking a risk. There's and like Parallax says, there's a lot of books that are out there that got that 9.8 grade that wasn't a 9.8. Just like for a simple fact that one of the things that I told you guys not too long ago with my Ultimate Fallout 4, I went into that. That was an unopened polybag. Ultimate Fallout 4. The first thing that CGC told me is like, "Did you pay for pressing?" I said yes, and they saw it. It's like, okay. He was like, "You're a good." He was like, "You're a good man," because I was like, "Well, why do you say that?" It's like, if you didn't do it, there is no way possible you're going to get anything higher than a 9.2. They said that up front, up front, giving it a book up front. If you didn't get this book pressed by us, it's not going to get any higher than a 9.2. I was like, wow. So they're up here. It's like, you know what? Anything that's still in the poly bag, if you're not paying for that pressing, and with the way that they've been grading as of late, good luck to you. I'm happy with my 9.4, but I knew going in, I'm probably not going to get that 9.8 after they told me that. And even if I took it out the poly bag and had somebody else press it, I know for a fact, just because of the attitude that they took with me with the poly, with still having it in the poly bag, that they're not really looking to really give that go ahead, that all right, it's a 9.8 because it's still in a poly bag type deal. You have to have a spectacular book coming out the gate. And even if it was pressed immaculately, it's still a good chance that you will be leaving there with a 9.6 as opposed to a 9.8 or better. It's just the risk that you have to accept here. Just like there's a lot of books that I sent in that I was like, I'm happy that I got the grades that I did, such as my Greatest Adventures number 80, the very first Doom Patrol. I bought that as a 1.5. That came back a 4.5 after they pressed it. I was happy. It was a 4.5 blue label. I was more afraid that it would come back like a 4.5 green, because it was like on its last legs and everything, but I took decent care of it, made certain that, the staples were intact and all this other stuff, didn't do anything to it. I took a little bit of a bump on my first newbie, the Wonder Woman 204, but I was happy that my Greatest Adventure 80 came back the way that it did. I'm ecstatic. I'm over the moon because I bought it at a lower grade. They pressed it and it came back a higher grade. That stuff happened. I like what they did with my Wonder Woman 204 because after the pressing, it is a very presentable copy of it. Am I happy with the grade? Not so much, but I like the way that it is presented within that encapsulation. So you got to look at the bigger picture here. You always got to look at that bigger picture. And if you're not looking at that bigger picture about the long term, I'm preserving this book, and not look at the money factor up front. And the reason I'm going to tell you to not look at the money factor up front, let's just say if you're dealing with a lot more modern books, when you get like for example, that let's use the my greatest adventures number 80, when you get that 4.5 and you look 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, as less and less books become of that issue becomes available, that 4.5 will go through an ebb and flow that is going to be more consistent in higher value than taking a dip in lower value. Unlike your more modern books, such as Ultimate Fallout 4. Ultimate Fallout 4, I suspect it's going to eventually come back down. It's like people are paying thousands of dollars right now. I have a sneaky suspicion that it's like in maybe about like 10 years from now, it would be below $1,000, and then it might have another boom depending on if they do anything new with that character. Which also comes back to another thing that I don't really like about where things are at and people and what people are doing. It's like a lot of the speculation out there to me is not great, or if I could say accurate, especially for more modern books. I mean, yeah, something's in the works for a movie or something in the works for a television series, so be it. One of the things that I look at now is like how everybody's flocking to all of these Doctor Doom books because of Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom. I kind of see it as a little bit ludicrous, and this is the reason I'm going to tell you why I find it ludicrous. And I'm saying that don't have your books ready that has Doctor Doom if they have a great movie. But I find it ludicrous now for all the markups and everybody's trying to latch onto it right now because of the simple fact that nothing has really been done. Two, there is not a inherent demand by any other audience as of yet, and that number two is very important. Us as collectors who are diehards, if we want the book, there's plenty of to go around. You don't need to drive that market up for those books right away just because of an announcement or just because something had happened or everybody expect that the movie's going to be great. You're causing your own demise here. You're causing that bubble to inflate too fast and then pop in the middle of where the height of its popularity should be. If you would have held off and trying to grab all of these books right away, and I'm not saying don't go after them. I'm just saying don't put all your eggs in one basket right away. If you would have held off just enough, and it's like to me, it's like there's a lot more of these Doom 2099s and all these different Doom issues and all these different issues where they have variants where you got either Doom and Iron Man armor or Iron Man and Doom armor. All those books would still be there, but the question becomes: will there be a audience outside of yourself once these movies have hit? You're playing a very dangerous game at that point on that type of speculation. Is Doom an important figure in Marvel Comics? Yes. But by him being that way already, where is the clamoring about that before this news about Robert Downey Jr.? It wasn't there. So that makes it even more of a thing about, well, the collectors want versus the rest of the audience. If we have a movie going audience that love that movie, all of a sudden now coming into comic book stores, and it's like where's all the Fantastic Four or the Doctor Doom issues and this, that, and the other, then you got a different problem. And that's where if you had those books, it becomes money. But to do this before there's an audience for it, it's a dangerous game because what happens if it doesn't do well or it does mildly well and the bubble pops? You're going to be holding on to those books, and you're going to be watching the value dip back down, and you're going to be sitting on those books for several years before it goes back on the up climb to become stable again. But people just don't get that. People don't see it as a whole here. It is ludicrous. Yep, it is. Now, the one thing that I have speculated on, and I only told a handful of people this, those books are slowly going up in the incline here. And no, I'm not telling you what it is. You have to be around me when I bought these books because I told a couple of comic book sellers and a couple of people. And some of the things that had happened is that we had a couple of famous artists that actually redid panels and they got released. So now my next step here, because of the speculation, is trying to find the original pages. If I'm able to do that, I'm set. And it's going to be nope, it's not Dark Heart number one. No. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. I believe I already told you which book it was, or I should say which two books there were. It's two books that I speculated on almost a year ago, and then I found out here in this San Diego Comic Con that certain artists released a re-envisioning of a panel from one of those books, and it took off. So yeah, it's going to happen here. No, I didn't tell you. If I told you about Dark Hawk One, why am I going to tell you about a book that I don't even own? I don't even own any Dark Hawk. So that wouldn't be it. That wouldn't be it. And no, it's not a Wonder Woman book. I'm going to take that out of people's minds right now. As much as you guys know that I'm a Wonder Woman collector, it's not a Wonder Woman book. It is one of those books that you would not think would be in my collection, or two books that you would not think that is going to be in my collection. No, and remember the D stands for do not like dude bros. you keep messing the name up. D stands for do not like dude bros. She's laughing now. But saying all that to say, you have to pay closer attention to what is real and what is being worked on. And it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because I know for a fact that the two issues that I talk about is one of the more hidden type stories that were told in history, and is dealing with one of the more favorite characters. Well, I wouldn't say favorite characters now because a lot of times people don't flock to this character as much, but this well-known character has been known to be doing some unsavory type deals, and these two issues dealt with that. Just like it's like if you ask me what else that I would spec on, there's another issue related to said character that I'm looking to find a way to get copies of one of their sister books. And if I'm able to get three, four, five of them, then I'm going to start looking for the actual original art. And if I'm able to get the original art, I'll be set. But I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, only because certain sellers who I told to be on the lookout for it knows. They know. I mean, I don't have to be the person up here. It's like, oh, buy Werewolf by Night, buy by Night, such such issue. It's like, why? Why am I going to drive up the demand for it just based upon some off the wall bias? My whole thing about speculation, and I go by the Marvel Guide to Collecting Comics, where they specifically talk about speculation. True speculation is always going to be about the amount of issues that are available in context to whatever story is being told and how often that topic comes up. And in the type of way that we look at comic books now, there's certain topics that we forget about and we don't talk about as much. I have to bug you like, yep, you do. Yep, let him keep his spec to himself. Exactly. I don't tell you what to buy. That's right. And this person right now, Tori knows. I don't tell people what to buy. I could tell you what I would look for, but I would never tell you what to buy. And she knows. I have gone on Henri Copin's claim sale, and I will look at everybody else buying their stuff, and I will pat them on the back. It's like goodbye. Even though I don't care for the title itself, it makes them happy. I'll be happy to find people stuff that makes them happy more so than, oh, why did you get this? That book is not going to be worth anything. That's not my job. But yet, you got a lot of people in this community that does that. Or, hey, people just don't know their books. If I'm not a Dave Stevens fan, I'm not a Dave Stevens fan. Show me something. Tell me something about Dave Stevens' work to make me a fan. Instead of telling me, oh, you don't know your books. I know the books that I like. And that's one of the things that I'm going to do I'm going to do a YouTube short about that, dealing with comic book collecting, about comic book collecting what you like. Because when it boils down to it, when it comes to speculation as a whole, speculation 9 times out of 10 comes back down to books that you like first before you buy anything outside of your like. Because you'll be more willing to spend money on something that you like than that one off book that you suspect to make you money. That's the key thing here. I hate that BS with the sellers that, yeah, oh, you just don't know your books. It's like, no, I know my books. I know how I could get it for maybe a lot cheaper than what you're selling it at. Again, not every book that you pick up has to be a 9/8 copy. That's the problem. That's the problem with the investor type. And when you get into the investing aspect of comic books, everybody wants that highest grade possible. And then you get to the part where old heads that, oh, you have to keep your books raw because you have to read it. It's like, don't you realize I could go online and read it digitally? I don't have to physically, move the pages around. And to always keep a book raw, it's like, how does that preserve the book? How does it keep it from getting damaged? I mean, it's just so many different things. There's so many different pros and cons, and just people are just being so stubborn, for lack of a better term, as far as their opinion on things. I'm not saying anybody is right or wrong, but you can't be stubborn enough to not hear the other side out. Because when you get that stubborn, then that's when you lose your argument. You can't be stubborn. Yeah, I also hate. I'm like, okay, hot shot. Why is it a key? And they say look it up, like this past Tuesday on whatnot. Yeah, yeah. Why is it a key? Why is that a key? Or why should I read this particular issue? Or why should I buy this particular issue? The other thing that really gets me going, and I'm going to read this first before I tell you that. Exactly. I don't want to read my Fantastic Four #1. I have a facsimile. I have Marvel Masterworks. I have the Milestone, etc. Exactly. There's other ways to read it. Oh, speaking of which, like my X-Men #1 from 1963. I just came across my X-Men the early years. I came across the facsimile. I came across Professor Xavier and the X-Men #1. Yeah, I have so many different ways to read that book. I don't have to read that #1 just to be reading it. But it's just the way that it is. Like, you're the seller. Tell me why I should buy this stupid book. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's more along the lines like one of the things that really, really gets on my nerves. Look at the pretty cover. That cover is pretty, but what's the story inside of it? I could go buy an art print for $20, frame it up, put it on my wall, and have it for the end of time. That art print might end up being worth more money than that comic book in the long run. Or if I'm lucky, be able to get the original for a couple of $100 and put it up on my wall and keep it for prosperity. And then that original may be worth some money later on down the line. So why am I buying that book based upon a cover? Explain that to me. It's like, well, you just don't know good artwork. That's like, no, I'm more interested in the story. I'm more interested in what makes this character so popular. And yeah, Parallax knows this for Thanos Copter. But that was a funny issue of Spidey Super Stories though. It was a very funny episode. He makes an escape on a Thanos Copter, and it says Thanos Copter on the side. Everybody else is like, "Oh, that puts forth money because it's the only time that we have a Thanos copter." But you don't know why the Thanos copter is so funny and why it's so important in that issue. That's the thing. That's the thing that people just don't get. My favorite top three covers of all time. Interesting. Let me think. I would put these three at the top of my list here. Sadly to say, Kingdom Come #1. That's an Alex Ross cover. I would put well, I can't really put that because they did so many different variations of that. So I would take away that here. So Kingdom Come #1, Wonder Woman 71 will be another. And I don't know the number to the Spectre issue, but it was a Spectre. It was an older issue of the Spectre, where it's like the Spectre is like holding people over what would have been a meat grinder, having them to try to confess. I forgot what cover number that is, but those are the top three that comes to immediately to my mind here. Another one I can't really talk about because, again, that goes into me not talking about books that I probably would speculate on. But those are the top three. Okay, let me see. We'll see. It's like even if the book is lame, you're like, I love this cover. Yeah, I mean, how many? I have seen. Well, I'm not going to pick on the character, but I have seen a lot of like how people are fawning over Harley Quinn covers. I'm like, meh. But I'm up here as like the bombshell covers to me are like very impressive, but people never liked the Bombshell stories or Bombshells United. But it is what it is. And I see, everybody talk about all of these Michael Turner covers. To me, they're like, meh. I mean, yeah, there's artists that people love. Some of the artwork that I love, I know a lot of people don't like. I like a lot of Darwin Cook stuff, especially like New Frontier, because again, he was right. It's very rare back in like the late 90s, early 2000s that you had superheroes smiling and actually having a sense of humor and having a life where everything is not grim and gritty. And he was kind of right on that aspect. And he kind of drew superheroes in that more cartoony, happy type aspect here. Some people like Scotty Young books. To me, Scotty Young is like, depending on what he's drawing, sometimes it's great and other times it's not so great. To me, his best stuff that he ever drew was the I Hate Fairyland stuff, but I don't get into that story very well. But that's just me. But that's just me. I don't tell everybody else not to like what they like. So yeah, but at the same time, should it be a $50 book because of Thanos Copter? No, it's a $50 book because that particular issue of Spider Super Stories is not as common as what most people think. And then you got, as you would say, the dude bros that would pay that much money or more, or a lot, or I should say a lot more than $50 for Thanos Copter. See, that's the part of this. That's the reason why I cringe at modern speculation, because nobody takes in consideration of availability of the books or the number of books out there. And one of the things that we always come back to, and I know Parallax, we talked about this until we were blue in the face. Amazing Spider-Man 300 with over, I believe it's like over 38 or 39,000 copies graded just by CGC alone. We're not even getting into CBCS. So that means that could be another tens of thousands of copies of Amazing Spider-Man 300 out there. It should be no way in the world that book should be over $1,000 at this date and time. No way. Mm-mm. It's too available. But because you have those diehards that are willing to put that $1,000, that $1,500, that $2,000 up front for a 9.8, guess what? It throws everything else out of kilter and forces the book to be more expensive than what it really is. And we even talked about this. We even talked about this here. It is messed up that an Amazing Spider-Man 300 at a 9.8, which is a more of a modern book, to worth more than Wonder Woman #9 from 1944 at a 4.5. No way in the world. 9.8 difference, because why? That Amazing Spider-Man 300, it has more copies available out there than that Wonder Woman #9. Because of the availability of that issue should drive the numbers up for the value of it. But no. Amazing Spider-Man 300 trumps it, I think, by close to like $500 or $600 at a 9. It's like that's a 9.8. It shouldn't be that much compared to that book. But it is what it is. And it's like I give you some time to think. Yeah, I mean, I answered your cover question here. That's on your wish list. The I want to say it's Spidey Super Stories 31. The Electric Company and Marvel Comics Spidey Super Stories 31, the Thanos copter. And I only remember it because it's on the cover, it's Thanos holding the cosmic cube in his hand. And I think you have it's either Black Widow or the cat that's with him. But I could be wrong on that. Yeah, that's the one, the ceremonial one where you have the shield. She have the shield in the background. She's doing almost like a Captain Morgan pose with her sword. The one that they did the statue of, which I have, that was like one of my favorite covers from that series. Yes, I want to read it. Cool. Yeah, I would like that. That HR drew Wonder Woman. Yeah, exactly. It is. I mean, there's a lot of overrated books. There's a lot of overrated. Sad to say, a lot of overrated Superman books, Spider-Man books, especially Batman books. But I'm not. It's like it's just the fan base is the fan base. It's like it's not for me to come here and be like, oh, these books are trash. It's like no, it's just not my cup of tea. I just tell you, that's not my cup of tea. But I can understand why you like it or why somebody else likes it. But if it's not my cup of tea, it's not my cup of tea. Yeah, the first Electra is super great too. What? That's Daredevil. I can't think of the Daredevil issue for first Electra. Victoria, I have a link if you really want to read the Cosmic Q Spidey book. Yeah, it's a fun read. Trust me, that Spidey Super Story is a fun read. And how Thanos thought he was going to get away on a Thanos copter was just the icing on the cake of that story. But people blow it out of proportion because the internet shows only one panel of a story. It's like it's the Thanos copter, and now everybody got to run and flock to get to the book because of one panel. That's the type of stuff that drives me up the wall. It was Hellcat. Yeah. Okay. It's like I just remember. It's just like remember, and that's the other weird thing that Hellcat actually was bequeathed Greer Grant's original costume. That was the other thing that I really wish that they would really hash out a little bit better when it comes to Patsy Walker, Greer Grant, and Jessica Jones. Yeah, it's Hellcat. Yeah. Again, people. Okay, since you brought it up, and this is one of the things that I work hard on when it comes to selling books. When we're talking only comics by itself here, people tend to flock to stuff that they know. Amazing Spider-Man 300 is a very easy book to homage when you really think about it from the artist's perspective. You have to think about it. It's nothing more than drawing your character in this big old circle, swinging on a web in a Spider-Man like pose. It's an easy cover to do. But for the simple fact that people have done it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again shows the lack of creativity. Not only to create a good looking cover, but lack of creativity to sell the book itself. because you're banking on the fact that people will look at that and be like, that is like they did an homage to, Amazing Spider-Man 300. It got to be a cool book, you know, making your book seem like it's akin to Amazing Spider-Man. When if you're doing that and you have a horror book, it kind of throws everything off. I mean, it's just to me, it's kind of like the lazy way of doing advertisement and sales and marketing. Is it a good thing? Depends on if it gets eyes on your product. So, to me, it's just more along the lines that's doing homages is just an easy way to get people's attention to your book. But is it the right way to sell your book? Probably not. Daredevil 168. Okay. Yeah, they used it on the Loki show for 1 second, so they lost their minds. Yep, 158. Okay, no, she corrected us at 168. Yeah, I like homages sometimes. The Night Spider one I liked. The ones that I couldn't stand, most of them were the Disney ones. The Disney ones that they put on Amazing Spider-Man. How in the world are you going to put a Captain Marvel on a Spider-Man book? A Captain Marvel #1 homage cover on a Spider-Man book. And then you got all these kids that's going in there and seeing all these Disney characters like Goofy as the Incredible Hulk. It's like, I want that Incredible Hulk where Goofy is on. Goofy is on. And they get it home. It's like, why am I reading Spider-Man? I thought it was going to be a Hulk book. Hello, Marvel. Can we say deceptive advertising to bring up your Spider-Man sales? Hmm. 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 But nevertheless, the She-Hulk one, I like this look off. Which one? Which one? 'Cause I don't remember a Disney doing one. The Disney them doing a Disney one, but I'm not certain if we're talking about the same one here. Yeah, I could have put the FF homage. Yeah, they could have put the FF homage on the FF. They could have put the Captain Marvel one on the Captain Marvel book. They got lazy. Well, I shouldn't say they got lazy. They took for granted that people weren't going to be smart enough to understand that they're buying a Spider-Man book. They tried to take advantage. And then the worst thing that I ever, and now my head's about to hurt because now I'm up here about to get ready to talk about what is it? Amazing Spider-Man 26, the so-called death of Kamala Khan, only for them to come back with the two new series, or the with her being in all these mini series, with her being an X-Men now. What the Mutant Menace and New Mutant. I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, they put all the covers on Amazing Spider-Man. And again, they put them on Amazing Spider-Man when the Amazing Spider-Man sales were down. That was the other thing. Amazing Spider-Man sales were down, so they put it all on Amazing Spider-Man instead of on the books that they're supposed to be on. It turns out to be shitty Zev Wells' Amazing Spider-Man. Yep. I wouldn't say shitty. That's not my words. That's her words. But yeah, they put it on all the Amazing Spider-Mans that were not selling well. They literally printed on all the books. They homage the classic covers. Yep. They just wanted to pad Amazing Spider-Man numbers because they were dropping the books hardcore from Wells' Romita run. I agree. Sora, yeah, the Disney Marvel is doing what Donald Duck book is doing a What If Donald Duck book. Yeah, that will be something to be looking out for. That What If, but the thing about it is it just a cover or is it a full What If story? Because if it's a full What If story, I'll be all for it. I'll go ahead and try to pick it up and read it. Yeah, the Disney covers were pins first. Yeah, yes, but the books are actually Donald being the character like Wolverine or Thor. Yeah, but that would be interesting if, especially if they kept it in the spirit of like the old Carl Barks type Disney stories. But then again, you don't know what Marvel. You never know what Marvel. At least with this new Marvel, you never know. I mean, I was happy with Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime. That put a good smile on my face. The ASM 300 She-Hulk. Oh, that okay. I know. I think I know what you're talking about here. Oh boy. Uh, that one was not impressive to me. I think I know which book you're talking about. I think I know what book you're talking about here. Yeah, the Mayhew one. The Matt Mayhew one. And I'm going to show it. Don't worry about it, people. I'm going to show it here. This is the book that she's talking about. Yeah, that one I was not impressed by. I was not impressed by. And again, Matt Mayhew is a decent artist, but again, it's too easy of a cover to homage. That's why people do it. It's why people do it. I just can't say no more, no less here. But that's just the reason why they do it because it's so easy to homage. It really is. It's not just a Disney variant cover story. Yep. Oh, I see. Yeah, they are actually doing a what if. It's a full book. The two have dropped already. Okay, so there's two. Okay. Okay, that's not a problem. I could message him about that. I got the Edith sign. I got it signed after she. Oh, okay, cool. Oh boy. See, now we're getting to the ridiculousness of how lazy it is to do some of these homages. Because and now Facebook want to be slow. Facebook does not want to be fast anymore. And, and here comes Juggy. There he is. And at least this shows a little bit of inventiveness because, there is either a black suit Spider-Man or some remnants of a Spider-Man trying to shoot a web around the Juggernaut. And it's kind of messed up because Juggernaut is not 100% in the actual Spider-Man pose either. He's halfway in it. Only his upper torso is. His bottom half is not. But that's me paying, finer attention to details here. Oh, I don't mind the ASM homages if I can get them cheap and not full price. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. But some of them you might be able to, and others probably not. But that was see what made Sensational 1 and Sensational 60 classic is the fact that in the first one, she's like, okay, fine, buy my book, or you are going to come over here to rip up your X-Men. When she gets to issue 60, it's like, okay, that tears it. Hand over your X-Men. Like I said, it's like you didn't buy my book, so now you got to hand over your X-Men. It's more like the ongoing joke here, just like how people don't understand issue 40. Issue 40 was not a TNA type cover like everybody makes it out to be. It was a comment about how super heroines were portrayed during that time solely for sex appeal. But no, they're up here like she jumped rope naked. He. No, she didn't. It's like you missed the joke behind it. You think you know about the book, but you don't. And it's like sometimes I just feel like telling people stay in their lane when it comes to that book. Nah, don't be mean to Sora. Don't be mean. Yeah, although some homages are being overplayed a lot, like 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 what we're talking about with 300, Amazing Spider-Man 300 has been played a lot. Uh, Amazing Fantasy 15 has been played a lot. Spider-Man 1 has been played a lot. Spawn 1 has been overplayed a lot. I mean, I could go through a lot of them. It's a lot of them. At least She-Hulk's jumping, and she jumps. The Juggernaut just doesn't move like that, and yeah, like I said, they only got his upper torso where his arms and stuff is in the right position for it, but the rest of his body can't. He's not that flexible. What Wolverine Spider-Man variant? Again, why it was like why would I care about Wolverine Spider-Man? At least there's webs. Yeah, but like I said, like I showed here, you got this Spider-Man, whatever black suit Spider-Man character, whether it be Peter or somebody else, like a Venom or something else, shooting a web around him to kind of give it the whole a different aspect of that Amazing Spider-Man 300 cover. So you can't say that it's a direct carbon copy, but it is still a homage to it. Oh, see, now you're making me think about the Edge of Spider Verse one, issue 3 of Edge of Spider Verse with the British Spider Man, and they did the homage to 300 with her, and it was kind of spot on. Oh, you have to be mean to Sora. Okay, fine. It's in your contract. Okay. Yeah, Action Comics #1 is another one. What do you think of the artists homaging their own work and selling it? Where are you going? Where are you going to? How are you? Okay. How, let me put myself on the big screen here because that question makes me think about this question. If and let's just say if you was an editor at a publishing company or or if you're the editor in chief or one of the editors on a major book, and you have somebody like, oh, let's take Todd McFarlane, who has been infamously known to do that several times over, and he homaged himself. Are you going to tell him no? Think about it. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 13, Hulk 340, and I forgot what other book that he did that in Spawn. Spider-Man 300 and Spawn. The man has been known to homage himself several times over. But yet nobody complains to him about, oh, you shouldn't be homaging yourself. He set the trend. So because somebody of that nature does it, you ask a question like this, and I have to be like, well, here's the problem. Nobody called out these bigger names for doing it back in the day. So why are we going to harp on artists nowadays for doing it? I mean, it's a fair point to bring up when looking at that question. You know, again, we have people like Rob Liefeld with the Fighting American and Captain America. He homaged himself. But back in the 90s, that was normal. But yet people want to complain about it nowadays. But again, if that was part of the practices back then, why wasn't people called out back then? I mean, it's a fair question, a fair point to bring out when answering that question here. I honestly, a part of me feels this way. If they find a way to improve on it, I don't have a problem with it. But if they're just doing it just to be doing it, that's where the problem lies at as far as the creativity. It's like it's easy to make, color touches and color changes to things and to make it look new and different, but also at the same time, but also at the same time, you have to look at it as like what if they're really doing with the overall composition at the time between the time that they homage themselves. But it is what it is. Hey Don, uh, glad that you were able to make it here. Oh, Tori gotta go. You gotta go already, Tori? Well, have a good night, Tori. And yep, Parallax to say hi to Don. Yep, yep. Parallax knows exactly. It's like it's kind of like if Todd McFarlane did it back then, we can't complain about it now because the editors back then, in my point of view, were a lot tougher on artists than they are now. A lot tougher. So if he was able to do it back then, it makes me wonder if this was more commonplace every so often. I mean, what was it? West Coast Avengers, the white Vision cover was a homage to Avengers. Something I forgot what the actual Avengers cover was when they first announced the Vision. Homages happen a lot more often than anything else. Heck, they even did that in Fantastic Four dealing with the Beyond, dealing with Galactus. They do it all the time back in the day. But you have to look at it. Even with the Fantastic Four, the first one was like 1960, and then they did it again in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's a big time span to homage a cover. Todd McFarlane shrunk that time span. He did it. He did it for, and like I said, the one that's clear as day to me is Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 13. Spider-Man 1 had him in his normal outfit. Spider-Man 13 had him in the black suit. They homaged one another. I mean, you can't get around that. But in his own work, and he creates those covers. Yeah, I mean but that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting at. Parallax. It's like back then, the editors for these companies were a lot harsher on artists. So if they was homaging themselves, they were doing something different in those covers that we who don't have a trained eye may not pick up on. Like with Spider-Man and Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 13, there are subtle differences in those covers. But will most people be able to pick up on it? Probably not. Liefeld used to lift whole entire pages and trace to meet deadlines because he was always slow and late. Oh boy. We're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going there. But only reason I say we're not going there because how can I put this delicately? Some of that has been proven through documentaries, but it's not for us to really highlight per se. Yeah, Neil Adams has been homaged with Fantastic Four 49, one of the antithesis covers, and I did like the Neil's Adams month where they did 30 covers and homage 30. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, y'all talk about Matina already. Since we are talking about covers, hmm, why you want to bring up Matina? Tell me more about that. Why Francisco Matina is good. He does good stuff. He homage a cover, and everybody wants the crazy stole the cover, and it's like, what the fuck? If he would have done a Batman cover on ASM 300 in the 300 volt, he would have sold out every copy. Yeah, yeah, because that would be his version of Todd McFarlane's Amazing Spider-Man 300. Just like with the She-Hulk, that was Matt Mayhew's version of that. White Vision. Yep, I mentioned that just a few moments ago. Paul Ryan did the covers for 48 and 49, and yeah, mm-hmm. Because those were the two standouts that made me think about the Fantastic Four. It's like, yeah, Fantastic Four homaged itself. They took the original the original dang it. I hate when names slip my mind here. But they took those Galactus covers and they redid them later on in the late 90s or 2000s. But homage covers is not really the problem. It's just, back then it was few and far between. It was fewer and far between before we get into like the 90s books where it's like we only went 12 issues before you did it again. And you kind of get to the point where it's like this is getting kind of laziness. Like with the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four one was at least 40 plus years. Oh no, yeah, it was getting close to 40 plus years. It was like 30. 35, 36 years in between them reusing the cover aspect of homaging it, but McFarlane did it on these books within 12 issues. I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, that is true. That is true. X Men, Uncanny X Men 120, 123 or something like that. It's in the 120s. I know that much. And Crisis or Infinite Earths #7 with Superman, and Supergirl. Yep. And the reason why people didn't realize it is because the difference between John Byrne and George Perez. That's the only reason why that one was not caught or recognized as much. Because the original was done by John Byrne. Crisis was done by Perez. Now, whose version of it was better? That's a debate. I will not take anybody up on that debate. They both are awesome, so that's the way that I look at it. Yeah, Joe is the nice one. I'm not so nice. Yeah, she would be the first one. It's like that stuff is pitiful. she would tell you straight up. Oh yeah, Avengers 57. The OG Vision. People keep forgetting that Avengers 57 was first, and then they did the West Coast Avenger when he became white. The original Behold the Vision was 57, and then when he became white, they redid the cover. And again, that was what 20 plus years since they did those homages. Every example that we've been bringing up so far before we get to Todd McFarlane, there was a big gap between homaging and the covers here, except for the Crisis and the Uncanny X-Men. That's a unique case because it was two different publishers, two different artists, but the composition style was the same. Yeah, I was hoping that 392 would do Fantastic Four 50, but cooler. I thought 50 was a bit plain with the brown background. Yeah, he did it. He did it 1 year later. X-Men 136. Okay, so I was off by 10 issues, 10 or so issues. I could have sworn it was like the late 120s. 120 120 was probably still would have 120 was 120s, 126, 125 was still probably would have been right around the Hellfire Club, which he was still Dark Phoenix. It wasn't like the final showdown where Phoenix was defeated and everything. He has Cyclops holding Jean Grey in his arms and everything. I know you sent me pictures. This is what we're talking about. For those who keep in scorecard, this is the cover that came out first. This was 1980 Uncanny X-Men 136 here. This was during a time that they killed supposedly Jean Grey is dead because they had to destroy Dark Phoenix. The Shi'ar Empire had to destroy Dark Phoenix after she blew up a whole universe and everything. So this is the original composition here. So you have Cyclops in agony, Jean Grey in his arms and everything. You got Professor Xavier in the background. You got Wolverine and Colossus and Storm and Nightcrawler. And the reason I'm describing it this way is because this you have to pay attention to the overall composition. Now we go to Crisis number 7. The major difference here is that the background here is a little bit different. There's a lot more people, and this is done by George Perez here. And you have the red sun behind them, so they're kind of depowered at this point. So with the red sun, with all the people and everything, you have Supergirl dead in his arms, and it's pretty much, Superman in pretty much the same morning pose as Cyclops. But most people would not see these two as homages, but they are. And this one is 1985. So 5 years. So a 5 years difference between the two. This one is. Will it allow me to zoom in? No, it won't allow me to zoom in. I believe that this is a John Byrne cover. This one here is a George Perez. And I can't zoom in because I don't feel like bringing it into Photoshop to zoom in just to verify who did what. Yeah. See, I know my X-Men parallax. I know my X-Men. Like I said, I was off a few issues here. Yeah, I love that cover. Yep. Yeah, Byrne Austin and the Crisis is George Perez. I'm still trying to find his signature here. I don't see it. I don't see it clearly like up in there. I know on the X-Men one, it's right here in his boot. This is where they signed it. It's in his boot here. But yeah, John Byrne. I forgot Austin's first name. But yeah, those were homages of one another that most people would sleep on because it was done by two different artists. But this one came first. Not exactly the exact same pose, but it homaged one another. Two different sets of characters, same type of composition. Terry Austin, thank you. Thank you, Terry Austin. But that's kind of like the thing that you have to really kind of like if you're into that whole what do we do about homages? It's like homages happen. They do happen. But if you're going to complain about an artist homaging himself, you have to think about when did it really start first happening? It started first happening with Todd McFarlane back at Marvel in the 90s. And he was allowed to do it. Is it a good thing? But again, if you allow him to do it, then you have to allow other people to do it. And we can't really complain about it because why? We're not the editors or anything to these projects. Just that simple. I wish we could set the Wayback Machine and be like, no, that was lazy and start creating a hullabaloo back then in the 90s. Because maybe we will have more creative covers nowadays. But it is what it is. I mean, if we kind of think about it this way, I mean, maybe there was homages to Godzilla covers and kaiju covers. I mean, thinking about Shogun Warriors and Godzilla, it's like maybe there was overlap there. I don't know. Yeah, Giordano and Ordway Ink George on Crisis. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's like I just think that if you homage something, you should clearly put after XXX with your signature. Well, that's what I typically do with my sketch covers. If I do like a homage to like a cover, except for the one that I did for Matthew. I didn't do that on Matthew's, but that was off of an X-Men cover. I don't even think I still got a picture of it. I still don't think I do. I still have a picture of that. I don't think I have a. I don't think I still have a picture of it. Let me see. Parallax knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's not exactly that one is not exactly the same. Now this is where I would have to be like, no, that's not exactly the same composition here because that's a different pose. Odin has a different pose than anything else here. That's not kind of like an homage to that other cover. But she's saying to me, that homage is this, except instead of having his torso go that way, his torso is going back this way to try to fool people. But these two these two are pretty much exactly the same type of cover. And this is 128. So this predates it. So this predates these two here. So those predate those two. But this one right here, that's definitely not the same pose because his head is down. He's like bending over more so than anything else. Like he's about to drop him in the fire. They're like, okay, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We're going to cremate my son. That's what that one looks like. No, the exact cover that I did for Matthew. That's why I say I don't think I have that picture. The one that I did, not the X Men. Where was it? X Men 160. It's not the X Men 160 that I'm looking for. It was the picture of the cover that I did, the homage that I did. I tend to try to keep actual 168. I take that back. It's X Men 168, but remember Parallax. That was the one that I did the homage for Matthew for, and I don't remember what I did with the picture of the final version of it. I thought I still had it. At least I thought I did. But nevertheless, but that's the one that I did here. Yeah, you remember that. You remember that one that I did. I mean, it would take me forever trying to find it in this gobbledygook of stuff here. It just goes to show you that it also goes to show you that I probably need to draw more too because I rarely show people my hand drawn artwork because some people is like very picky and stubborn about the stuff. So I don't have time to argue with people anymore. I just do what I need to do and keep drawing. So I can't find it right now. So because I can't find it unless Matthew finds it like real quick, I'll show it if he finds it. Yep. I mean that's the end result. I mean, people have asked me to do commission covers in the past year, and I just do what I could do here. No, I have it somewhere in my archives. I just don't know what I did with it. I honestly just don't know what I did with it because I tried to save at least one image of it, whether it be a photo image of it or something else here, but and I should go back to doing sketch covers because I have a whole bunch of them. And I probably need to get them graded too, get them encapsulated, make them worth more. Like for example here, this is one that I did, and I did say where the source. I try to always say where the source comes from if I do it based upon somebody else's cover. So that's one of them. I believe I still have this one somewhere around. Yeah, but again, I don't want to do like a 2 hour hard drive scan just to find one cover. That's the bad thing about doing these things here. I thought it would have been in this folder, but it's not. Nope, eventually I will find it. Eventually I will find it. But that's an example of one of the ones that I've done. Yeah, I could still do more. I could still do more, but he loved what I did with that one for that one. And the other one that the most recent one that I did, since we're talking about, well, we're not talking, well, we're getting off the topic of homages, but we're still dealing with what people typically do for sketch covers and artwork and everything here. And I just saw it a second ago. There it is. That was the last one that I did for the Primetime Saturday Night Kickstarter. That is of Ellen from Primetime Saturday Night. that's the character that they picked. So I did the sketch cover for them, the hand drawn sketch cover. See, now this is going to bother me for the rest of the night because I know I have a copy of it. I just don't give away sketch covers without taking a picture of it first for my own portfolio to say what books I have actually worked on. That's funny. I was seeing some of the quick live art type stuff here. The other one that I was looking at right now, I can't show that because it actually has nudity. But I can't find it right now. But needless to say, it is stuff that I could go back to finish working on at a later date. So yeah, and I know you're going to be up here. It's like show me the other one that you did and everything, but that's an earlier work that I did. And it's just to keep people appeased here. I could send this without showing everybody. I forgot what that homage. I honestly forgot what that homage. See, Parallax just sent me this here. That homage something. I can't remember what that homage. I want to say it was a homage in kind of like a Hulk panel, but I can't remember. But that was a nice one. Oh, that's the picture for the book that you got? Okay. Okay, so that's kind of cool. But I sent you the one that I can't show. I sent you the one that I can't show on screen here because, like I said, that's nudity, and because I am on Twitch, I don't want another strike here. Oh, okay. But that homage, another that's see that like I said, that's a homage to something else. I can't remember what it homages. The Kara Andrews one is a homage to another cover. I can't remember what it is. Ceremony. So she's holding gravel instead of the urn there. Because remember, in her left arm, she was holding up an urn. It was like her. I think it was her and Wyatt was holding up this urn in ceremony one. Yeah, it's definitely on my shit. I can't place it. But ceremony is like this. I know what She-Hulk ceremony looks like, especially ceremony one and ceremony. It's only two issues, but ceremony one and ceremony two is pretty much it's like she was holding up this urn in the cover. Yep. Ceremony one, there's her with the urn, but she's looking towards the urn, so it's not exactly exact. And there's her and Wyatt together holding up, kind of like holding up the urn and whatnot. But yeah, I remember those two. It's not the exact post, but I want to. I'm trying to think what book. See, that's an homage. It's definitely an homage. I can't put my finger on what the homage is. It's a sensational She-Hulk. It might be. It might be. From a homage of Volume One. Homage of Volume One cover. Well, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. But yeah, there's a lot of homages it's like to complain about artists homaging another artist or homaging themselves. It's a common practice. If we didn't complain about it back in the days here, it's a little bit too late to complain about it now. That's the way that I feel about it. You know, today we have more of a say with our dollars than anything else. So, especially since now variant covers is ruling the roost now. We do vote more for our by our dollars as far as which cover of an issue we get if they do offer variants. But it is what it is. The Spidey pose, like Cap looks like he's lost, but Spider Man is like he's like almost enjoying it too much. Yeah, that was a poster. That was a She-Hulk poster, and that's not the full poster though. That's not the full poster. They actually cut off the top of it because the top of it you actually saw the whole band. It's like her Walkman was the whole band playing as she was carrying them. It was more to that poster, but that's the modern version of it. But I'm still thinking about that one. I can't put my finger on which sensational She-Hulk cover it was. It was a different artist, and I know it's got to be a sensational She-Hulk cover because of the hairstyle was similar. And you're saying, yep. If you make me think about it a little bit too long, I might blow a gasket. My brain going to be like, nope, that's enough. That's enough live streaming and everything because now you don't remember half of the stuff anymore because you used up all your gray matter on trying to figure out what issue that was. Just like this one is an homage. And I told a lot of people what this one is homage to. People don't remember what that That's an actual homage to another cover. I know exactly what the homage is to it, but I'm not going to tell a lot of people because I got tired of telling people that about what it is. Yep, that's kind of homaging the original concept of that John Byrne cover, except there's no dome over the rest of them. But needless to say, I wonder if people could guess what this cover homage. This is the Greg Horn. This is the Greg Horn cover version of a homage of another person's 100th issue. You do? Good. For those who don't know, that's your homework for the week. I could make it easy. I could make it easy. No, she went ahead and ruined it. You are correct. It is Iron Man 100. It is homaging Iron Man 100. And people looked at me strange. It's like, that's not homaging Iron Man 100. It's like, go and take a look at Iron Man 100. It's almost verbatim, except in between here about how the girl was broken. Yep. But again, dealing with the homages is just that's just how things are. We can't be angry at an artist homaging himself or another artist homaging somebody else. You can only do so much here. And yep, there it is. That's why I said up in here the only difference is up in here where the girder breaks and you can see the different pieces here. But it is Iron Man 100. There it is. Now you see it all together. And I don't know why I'm still thinking about which sensational She-Hulk cover that was. That's going to bother me. I used to know this stuff like the back of my hand, but no, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. But we're almost at the 2 hour mark, so it's almost time for us to say goodbye unless there's anything else that you guys want. It's like I don't think it's a cover. I think it's a splash page or half a page of a book. I don't know. I'll think. I'll go ahead and think about it because I still think it is it's. I don't think it's a splash page, but you might be right about it being almost like a half page or a panel. But I could have sworn that there was a cover similar to that. But anyway, I'm not going to waste my brain cells on it too much more. Like the homage to Carol Danvers in her new Miss Marvel costume by J. Scott Campbell. Yeah, that's another one. That's another one. She's talking about this one here. That's the one she's talking about. And again, J. Scott Campbell like throwing them pretty thin. Yep, the mirror pose is the splash page that's to that issue. Yep. I mean, but that's just the nature of the beast here. It seems like people are trying to go back to the days, back in the days, to do all of these homages that people know and like, to be like, oh, I gotta get that cover because I remember that, or I remember back when. Is it a good thing? Probably so. It sells the book. It does it help with creativity? Probably not. Yeah, we see right there. That's what she's talking about. This part right here. That part is just flipped, mirrored of this image here. But he added this over here. Now, like I said, people like how J. Scott Campbell draws women. I don't, but it is what it is. Anyway, people, I know on the West Coast it is officially about to get ready to be Sunday over there, so I'm going to say good night to you guys here. Enjoy the rest of the beginning of your Sunday. For everybody else in the Midwest and the West Coast, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Unless you are across the pond, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, because I know it's already Sunday over there, because it's like 8 hours. Oh, you're like 8 hours ahead of where I'm at here, so that will put you probably somewhere about what, 6 o'clock in the morning. Yep. And that's the second part of that. But he didn't even use that pose. He didn't use that as a pose here. He did his own take on that mirror pose. But right, but you're correct. He took this part here, got rid of all the closet and everything on this side here, and he flipped this image. He mirrored this image, flip it on the other side, and flip it the other direction to kind of make it seem like it's kind of like, her in retrospect type deal. But it's an interesting composition, but it homages two different things all at the same time. At least it shows a little bit of creativity more so than anything else here. But as I was saying here, to those on the East Coast, enjoy your Sunday, since we're what, 3 minutes away from midnight there. For those who are in the Midwest and West Coast, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Those who are overseas, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'm about to call it an evening for the show here. I hope that you enjoyed what we talked about here. Yep, indeed. And yep, 3 minutes till tomorrow. Yep. Tomorrow is almost 9 for those on the East Coast. Unless you're overseas, then tomorrow is already here. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning for you guys. But nevertheless, I'll be back here next week with another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. And if you just can't wait until next Saturday, I will be back here on Comic Book Spectrum. Hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed, I have something to review and talk about and review as far as new comic books, or a comic book that haven't been talked about in a while. I still got like Scarlet and Cobra Commander and all these other books that I need to finish reading up and reviewing. So there's things to be reviewed for Comic Book Spectrum. So if you can't wait until next Saturday, catch me on Thursday right here at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Until then, have a good rest of your night, and we are out of here. See you later, and we are out. Bye.